Triple Cross. Welcome back. What is up? It's your boys, John and Casey here with some more sports news. We've got a multi-sport show today, so we haven't had a ton of those yet. We're going to get to the NFL, which we've been covering the most recently. But before that, we're going to hit a little bit on some basketball. So fun stuff coming. We'll do the picks at the end of the show like we normally do. We got a big trade in the NFL, but we got to get John his basketball due here. John, how excited are you to talk some basketball on Triple Cross?
Dude, the NBA started. I love the NBA season. It's so good. I mean, NBA playoffs are the best time in sports ever, period, in my opinion. But yeah, no, NBA season has started officially since the last time we talked. Last time we did talk basketball, but we mostly talked about Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole. They seem to be past it, I guess. I mean, they're playing, so no update there. But yeah, I'm stoked to talk basketball. We're gonna spend a few minutes on it today. What about you, man? Like, are you just like, I'm here for the ride?
It's a good dichotomy we got going on because, you know, when we talk football, I mean, I watch more football. I stay up with it a little bit more. When we talk basketball, completely flip that on its head. John's basketball nut. And I'm along for the ride a little bit here. So, I mean, I've got some favorite teams, but that's mostly just like, I just decided they're my favorite teams. Been kind of paying attention to them the longest. But anyway, let's jump right into it. Okay. So NBA kicking off. Let's get into some of the major moves that have happened here, whether it's off season or, you know, maybe the end of last season or anything like that. Major moves compared to last year, this time last year. You've got a couple you want to outline for us, John. Which ones do you want to start with? What are your biggest trades, biggest moves in your world?
So I'll hit one that it was not, and all of my ones that I'll hit on are off-season moves, just because I don't want to get like too deep into what happened at the trade deadline last year or anything like that. But I will hit one because I brought it up before the show, and you were like, "Oh, that guy moved." That was like a fairly blockbuster move at the trade deadline last year that like probably flew under the radar because it was two sort of not in the playoff teams. Domantas Sabonis from the Pacers. Longtime Pacers center. They run the whole offense through him. Domantas Sabonis went to the Kings in exchange for Tyrese Halliburton. Really good. I mean, he's in his third year now, but great. He was great as a rookie, great as a sophomore. Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield, who's also been like a really good young player. So two big guards over to the Pacers for Domantas Sabonis. On the Kings, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to impact the league that much. Basically, what's going to happen now is just Sabonis is going to fade into obscurity. The Pacers had already faded out of the East, and I don't see them like really. I don't see them making the playoffs in the East, and that's saying something because usually you can have a losing record to make the playoffs in the East.
Ooh,
so yeah, it's throwing some shade at the Pacers. I know. That said, I do love Hallie. I love Tyrese Halliburton.
He's on my fantasy team.
I did, yeah. No, I mean, fantasy's got him so overvalued, which is tough for me because I would love to have him, but like, yeah, he's a good player. I think he's maybe just not quite enough of a killer, but hopefully he'll develop that. But in terms of off-season moves, my favorite team, this is where it's tough, right? Because you always see like your favorite team's moves as like, oh my gosh, right? Like these are the big moves, right? Like, so there's a little homerdom here.
Spoiler alert, foreshadowing, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, there is a big move with your team as well, but there's a little homerdom here. But it is, I mean, everybody. One of the bigger talks was these offseason moves. So the Jazz cleaned house. Basically, they moved their two key players, their two franchise players, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. Rudy went to. I'm going to read it all because it's like hard to remember. So Donovan Mitchell went to the Cavs in exchange for Colin Sexton, who's like a really solid young guard, averages, I think last year averaged like maybe 15, 20 a night. Lauri Markkanen, and he's underrated. I've had my eye on him for a while. I think Lauri Markkanen's good. Okay, Abaji, I don't know who that is, and I don't think he'll get any minutes. In fact, maybe we've waived him at this point. And then just a bunch of picks. So Danny Ainge, the new GM for the Jazz, is collecting picks like they're, I don't know, Pokemon cards. He's just gathering picks. That's what he did when he retooled the Celtics as well. So that's who they moved Mitchell for. And then Gobert, they moved for, let me find it. Gobert went to the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange for Malik Beasley, Pat Beverly. Pat Beverly then went to the Lakers for Taylor Horton Tucker and one other player. Sorry, can't remember them all off the top of my head. But yeah, he went to the Lakers in a couple player deal, and and of course some picks, because that's what Ainge is collecting. Leandro Bolmaro, again, not highly impactful. Jared Vanderbilt, who will get minutes, will have some impact. The draft rights to Walker Kessler, who was the number 22 pick in the draft this year. And then 2 first-round picks, a pick swap, another first-round pick, another protected first-round pick between now and 2030. So again, just collecting picks, the Jazz are. They also moved some other minor players. They moved Royce O'Neal for 1 first-round pick. They moved Bojan Bogdanovic for like Kelly Olynyk and someone else that's not really that noteworthy and picks. So Jazz are getting picks. That's the story here. They're like moving all their assets for picks. And I mean, I think a lot of people are saying they're tanking, right? Like they're tanking for the Whites, for a shot at Victor Wembanyama, the consensus overall number 1. I don't know, Casey, have you seen this kid's highlights? He's got game. He's got some game.
Yeah.
So 7'3", and he can play. He's got a
all
shot.
I've heard about him so far is from you, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I'm kind of outside of that basketball ethos. I don't hear all of the big stuff, but it sounds exciting, right? It sounds like we're in the category of generational talent, which, you know, I guess you kind of described it as maybe like every 2-3 years there's a guy that kind of gets that label. You know, and sometimes the basketball community is right, sometimes they're wrong. Like LeBron James was a call out. They got it right.
Yeah, they got it right. You know, Kevin Garnett, they got it right. Kevin Durant, we got it right. Like, but yeah, I mean, look, I think Jabari Parker was also in this talk. Andrew Wiggins, Harrison Barnes, they're fine players. You know, Zion, Greg Oden, that's like an outright bust. Poor Greg Oden, and really, I wouldn't call it a bust. He just got injured a lot, but. Yeah, I mean, in basketball, it's not like football where it's like, you know, that this guy's going to be good before he ever even comes into the league. Like it just, you never know how the rookies are going to pan out. But yeah, that's what a lot of people thought the Jazz were angling for here. Like just gather picks and take a shot at Wembanyama. But if you actually look at their team, it's like, okay, there's Colin Sexton, Markkanen, Vanderbilt. Like we still have Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson. I think it's just like we're kind of in this middle zone, as the Utah Jazz are just kind of in this middle zone where it's like, man, they might end up in like 10th or like getting the 8th seed and not really like having a chance at the draft lottery and getting Victor Wembanyama, and then we're just like back in the same place. Now I'm like second guessing myself that his first name is Victor. I'm pretty sure it is, but yeah.
So I can't help you there. But
so that's what's going on with the Jazz. That was the major offseason moves.
And if you're a Jazz fan, you know, buckle up, because there's going to be plenty of Jazz coverage as we move through the NBA season. John's going to make sure we hear about his team, good, bad, or otherwise.
I mean, I don't know. You know, I kind of said at the top that like, you know, I think the Jazz might win like 15 games this year, in which case there won't be much to talk about. But I mean, they've already won 2, so they're 2-0 somehow. As of the time of shooting this. So other offseason moves that were not Utah Jazz related. So yeah, Pat Beverly went from the Jazz to LA. DeJounte Murray to the Hawks. Let me find this trade so I can read it out. DeJounte, where are you at? This was a big one, because DeJounte will join Trae Young in a pretty stacked backcourt in Atlanta.
You know, I'm not a huge basketball guy, like we've talked about already, but even more than like jumping on board a team, you know, I've played fantasy basketball before, and I can really get on board with one player in particular, you know, and like looking at player styles. There's certain styles I like better than others, you know, like Steph is my guy. Did not get him in fantasy. It was soul crushing, but DeJounte Murray is another guy.
We could do a deal.
Well, yeah, he is on John's team. We'll see what we can do. I know it's going to take a lot to get that man, but we'll see about it. That's topic for discussion later. But DeJounte Murray is a guy I've been excited about since the last time we played fantasy, and I was in on him before he was a breakout, right? Yeah, I think he was young at least. Before the breakout, I'd say, and I just like the play style, and I'm glad to see he's going to a place where, you know, if they make a commitment to a guy like this, you hope that means, you know, future success, and he's going to get what he needs as far as support on that squad.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, had his first All-Star appearance last year, which is great. Going to the Hawks, right? So here's the trade, and this is just really signals what both these teams are looking to get out of this trade. So the Hawks get DeJounte Murray and Jock Landale, kind of an also round. Spurs get Danilo Gallinari, who he'll pick up maybe limited minutes, I'm guessing. 2023 first round pick, 2025 first round pick, 2026 pick swap, 2027 first round pick. So pretty clear what the Spurs are doing. What the Spurs are doing here too. They are doing the same thing as Jazz. They're just gathering picks, moving all of their good assets to gather picks. So yeah, I know, good for both teams, but like great deal for the Hawks that all they had to do was move picks because they're in a win now scenario, right? So they don't need those picks.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go for it when you can, but why are the Jazz winning? I don't know.
But, yeah. You gather picks and you win. What is this? Celtics. So another what I would call blockbuster deal in the offseason. Malcolm Brogdon to the Celtics. This is a big trade as well. Let me find it so I can read it out. So Malcolm Brogdon to the Celtics. So Celtics get Malcolm Brogdon. Pacers get Malcolm Brogdon, besides Domantas Sabonis, was kind of the man running the Pacers last year, even more so than Domantas Sabonis, I would say. Pacers get Daniel Theis, Aaron Nesmith, Malik Fitz, Juwan Morgan, Nick Stauskas in a 2023 first round pick. Daniel Theis is really the only person who even got minutes for the Celtics. So same kind of thing. And honestly, I don't know what the Pacers are doing here.
Bro, this is going to be...
Just get more picks. Why do you want Nick Stauskas? Like, you don't need that dude.
This is going to be few and far between, but I only know this guy from 2K. He was on my squad in 2K when I played like one random year, but I think it's pronounced Tice, right? Isn't it? Daniel Tice? Maybe? I don't know. He was like my starting.
HIS. Yeah. No, he did get some minutes with the Celtics, but yeah, with Juwan Morgan, I mean, it's just kind of a lot of guys who could maybe be role players. It seems to me like a bad move on the Pacers' part, but what do I know? Not the Pacers jam. Mavericks acquire Christian Wood for multiple assets, multiple minor players and some picks. So Christian Wood, I will call this a blockbuster deal because Christian Wood is pretty lesser known because he was on the Rockets last year, and the Rockets are in full rebuild, like they're tanking. But Christian Wood's really good, so he's a really good player, but he's just not getting very much attention because he's playing for the Rockets. But going to the Mavericks, like that's a pickup, man, because Mavericks moved Porzingis last year, so they're missing a big man, and Christian Wood is exactly that. He's a big, long, athletic guy who gets boards, who throws down lobs. I think a great running mate for like a Luka. Luka's going to be ball dominant. He's going to get his buckets, right? Like that. You got to just be ready for that with Luka. Get a guy who does like those things that Luka doesn't do. Like, so I really like that Christian Wood pickup for the Mavericks.
I hate to do this to you, but and sorry, I was looking down at my phone there for a second, but breaking news. Christian Wood is also the newest member of my fantasy squad. Yes,
that's a good pickup, man. Like that's a great, PF center probably has both eligibility.
Yeah, I got a little sick of Maxey gave up a dud in this last game, and I don't know.
Did you have Maxi Kleber on your fantasy squad?
No, Tyrese Maxey.
Tyrese Maxey. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, like, I don't know what you were doing with Maxi Kleber in the first place. I'm gonna be honest with you. No. Tyrese Maxey, kind of a little too unpredictable, and there's just not a lot of touches to go around in Philly.
That's what I'm feeling there. I was eyeing Tobias Harris. He was another clutch performer last time we played. I have Embiid on my squad already. We did a full auto draft, so we didn't have control over these. Maybe one day we'll do a breakdown of our squads. Kind of an interesting format. We only did a 4-man league so that we just star-studded across the board.
I mean, it's a top 50 players league. Yep.
Yeah, that's why Christian Wood was available. So
right.
Anyway, I didn't want to throw you off track there. That's
a good call out because that is true. Like that would be my main call out in Philly is that it's like if you don't have James Harden or Joel Embiid or maybe Tobias Harris, I wouldn't pick anyone else up on fantasy. That's in Philly. There's just too few touches to go around.
Yeah, fair enough. That's it's a little bit about the East, but moving on, we've got another topic of discussion here. We talked about some off-season moves. Now we're moving on to what you want to call the Western Conference call-outs. You have some in mind in particular here. First of which is Minnesota versus Utah. John, your Jazz. What do you have to say about this? And the Rudy revenge game, right?
Yeah, Rudy revenge game, right? So it's always the first game after the trade's always interesting. Who won the trade? And then so the Jazz beat the Nuggets in their opener, which is wild. But Minnesota, Utah, and I'll even pull up the box score here because this is like a pretty like here we go. Let's see. A little screen present here. Wasn't ready for this, but just calling the audible.
Screen present.
Impromptu screen share. I'll give you a little zoom, maybe. A little zoom. Boom, boom. So Jazz, Markkanen, I said, what did I say? I've been eyeing this guy. Markkanen, 24 points in 39 minutes. This hurts my soul a little bit because I just like this is like the only Gonzaga player in the league that I do not like. But Kelly Olynyk is getting 35 minutes for the Jazz. Like if this guy has a year like he had a few years ago with the Celtics, then I guess I won't be mad. But
is it the hair? Is that what you don't like?
Dude, there's just I think he's just overrated, honestly. Like he was overpaid, and maybe with the Jazz, it's not so bad. He's not overpaid, but he had like a really good year, and like he's still in the league because of that year. I feel like, but I mean, I don't know. He put up some numbers here, so who knows? Vanderbilt just grabbing the boards. I love that. And then Conley Clarkson. So this is we still have like a pretty solid backcourt here, man. And if Clarkson's hot, he's hot. You can't stop him. There we go. There was part of that Rudy trade. 15, 1 and 3 in 30 minutes from Malik Beasley. And then part of the, and this is how the Jazz will win games, right? Like no real breakouts here, but a bunch of guys in double digits. If they do win, that's how they'll win. Timberwolves, here's the flip side of the trade. 9 points out of the Rudy. I mean, 23 boards. That is pretty beastly, but only 9 points out of him. So I do wonder how this combination will work of Cat Towns, Rudy Gobert. It seems awkward to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, what do you do? What do you do with all that hype?
What do you do with all that? Yeah. Like how do you fit those two guys on the court together? Like your spacing's weird. I mean, look, Cat wants to play on the perimeter and he doesn't want to play interior defense. He doesn't want to get boards. He still ended up with 8, I guess, but like, yeah, I mean, I bet, I don't know how many threes he hit, but I bet a lot of these are threes. But this dude, I do love me some Anthony Edwards. That guy is good. And
pretty good actor too. You know, he did well in that Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah. What was it called again? Hustle. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. I didn't even know that the guy who actually plays the main character was a real bad. I didn't know either of them were real.
Yeah. No. So that guy was a jazz man last year. Yeah, he's good. I like him. He's not anymore.
Not quite the guy he is in the character he plays in.
No. Hernan Gomez though. Yeah. So yeah, this is good. Revenge game. Jazz 2-0. Markkanen is as good as I thought he was. 24 and 13, man. That is not bad at all. And he actually looked good against the Nuggets as well. So that's my first call out from the West. I definitely
Second one you got coming up here, we're calling it the Battle of LA, the first Battle of LA.
Yeah.
John, who came up victorious in the first Battle of LA?
Well, so this has been for a couple years now, the talk, right, of the Western Conference is like these two teams. So this one went to the Clips. But yeah, everyone's been like, oh, this is stacked. Here's my call out on the Battle of LA thing. I actually think everything that's going on in LA basketball right now, I wish Q is here to hear me say this. It's all overrated. You know what I mean? Everything's going on. The Lakers are overrated. The Clippers are overrated. Kawhi's overrated. Paul George is overrated. LeBron's a great, like his body of work as a whole is great, but I think he's just not like, he's putting up numbers, but he's not like, I don't know. He's not winning. Like,
has LeBron seen his
he doesn't seem like the killer he is.
Has LeBron seen his last finals, his last trip to the NBA finals?
I don't know. I mean,
no, don't get wishy-washy on me, John. This show's about hot takes.
Yeah, no, well, because I think I don't think he'll get back there with the Lakers because he's kind of at odds with them because they won't trade their picks. He wants them to trade their picks and because he thinks they're in a win now situation, and they won't trade their picks. They won't trade their future, right? So they're not really letting him run things. I do like Lonnie Walker putting up numbers. That's pretty cool. Pat Bev was an offseason move. here's the biggest call out I have here is Russ in 27 minutes. Like, dude puts up like less than 10 total major stats. I think maybe he got some steals or whatever, but he went 0 for 11. And that is the biggest overrated of all. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think a lot of people have cooled on Russ pretty heavily. He's just not efficient. They got exactly what they traded for, a high volume, inefficient player. And yeah, anyways, I think the Lakers aren't good because of it. Kawhi did go out with a knee injury, so he was not playing. Oh, he came off the bench, it looks like. So he did play a little bit, managed his load, classic Kawhi. But Paul George, same thing, just kind of like, I mean, 15 and 10, I guess it's a double-double, but it's like, I mean, we're going to need more out of you if you guys are going to be the best team in the West. The one spot I will not say is not overrated in this whole and all of LA is this guy right here. And maybe I'm just wishing because I like him. I like John Wall. But like, I think the Clippers are a great landing spot for him, right? Like just somewhere where it's like, we don't expect you to be the guy anymore. We expect you to lead the second unit. I think that he's great for that at this point in his career. Moving on to some Eastern Conference stuff here. So Celtics, they picked up Brogdon in the offseason and they are 2-0. I mean, they are the Eastern Conference champs. We can't talk East without talking Celtics. I think it was a good move. He seems like he's playing solid so far. I mean, he hasn't really put up numbers, but that's, again, Brogdon similar to John Wall, where it's like he led the whole squad in Indiana. And I mean, I think he's like Malcolm Brogdon to lead your second unit. Like that's like getting, I don't know how else to compare it. It's like he's overqualified for the job, right? So
right. Does he as a player, does Brogdon as a player take a hit almost because of this? Because there's more mouths to feed in Boston.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, Malcolm Brogdon, like if you've got like, he will not be like the fantasy player he once was. So yeah, I mean, look, it's getting 25 minutes a game. You know, that's 6 man minutes. So, but yeah, no, I mean, he's in terms of like Boston's, like, I think, you know, they're definitely moved up my list in terms of their chances of winning the finals with him. Other Eastern Conference call out I have is the Hawks. DeJounte, man.
There's all these offseason moves. They seem to be paying off.
Offseason move, like, this is the theme, right? But here, this I want to pull up, man. Like DeJounte's numbers against I think in their second game. Let's see, no, it was in their first game. Sorry, give me a sec here. Hawks. DeJounte Murray against the Pelicans.
Yeah, I'm going to add you to the stream at your computer.
Yeah, or maybe it was this Rockets game. I mean, Trey went off as well, right? 23 and 13, but 20 and 11 and 5. Like, look at that backcourt, man. Both of them playing 30 minutes. DeJounte getting boards, 5 boards for a guard.
Honestly, just good. Look at the whole box score. I mean, 4 guys over 20 points. They're spreading the ball around.
Like, okay, like don't sleep on John Collins, man. That guy can play basketball. He's a good. Yeah, no. And these two, they're the similar kind of player. Like they're kind of playing this classic, like true guards, true forwards, true center type of thing. And I kind of dig it. They got the Holiday brothers here, the 2 lesser Holiday brothers. They don't have Drew, but yeah, they're getting minutes, not putting up numbers. Whatever, it's all right when these guys put up numbers like this. But the Hawks are 2-0. 2-0. They beat the Rockets and the Pels. Sorry, that's preseason. So they're Rockets and Magic. I think this is the game that DeJounte broke out.
Well, that old school kind of format, you know, it kind of seems like any one of their guys can be subject to like a bad night and they can still win games, maybe.
Yeah, right. Like John Collins can pick up. I mean, look at that, 23 and 13. Trey Young he's a little more. I mean, this is like a great backcourt kind of combo with DeJounte Murray and Trey Young. Because Trey Young is a little more volatile. He'll turn the ball over sometimes. He also will do he'll hit some daggers, right? DeJounte just plays just like this. You know what I mean? Just like that. That's how DeJounte plays.
So I haven't watched them at all this year. I don't know if you've been watching them either, but I haven't seen them yet. Who's going to be the more ball dominant guy in this offense? You know,
Trey. It's going to be Trey. Yeah. I mean,
even with that, because he produces more. He creates his own a little bit, right? A little bit than some guards.
Trey just is. Trey dribbles a lot, man. He just is a dribbler, right? Like he's gonna he's gonna do it. He's gonna put up shots. Some of them aren't gonna be good.
Kind of SGA-esque, maybe.
Some aren't gonna be good. He's probably a little better than SGA. I don't know. SGA is pretty good. I think Trey's a little bit more of a winner than SGA is.
I think in our format, fantasy,
Trey is more of like a killer, right? Like he's more of like SGA will put up numbers, but he won't win games.
SGA is on my fantasy squad. I'll take those as fighting words. In our format, SGA is the number one player on average per game.
SGA is a great fantasy player. In terms of Oklahoma City Thunder winning games, SGA is not that.
That's probably a fair assessment from what I've seen of the Thunder. Okay, so moving on here, John. The Hawks looking good. Another team that, maybe they got some magic up their sleeves. Those big, long, thick Wizard sleeves. The Wizards are 2-0. And John, why do you think they're at 2-0?
What is happening? Okay, so just to be clear, Washington is like kind of an awful organization. Like all the way back to when they had Michael Jordan, and they here was another generational talent came out of high school, Kwame Brown. Do you know who that is, Casey?
Heard the name for sure, but not lately.
You actually do. I thought you were gonna say no, and I was gonna say exactly.
Haven't heard it in a minute though, to be honest.
Yeah, Kwame Brown. He came out of high school, was one of the he's just a bust. And I mean, the Wizards they're just like not a good organization. You know what I mean? And but they're 2-0. Like, who knows? The only call out I'll have here, I'll be brief here, is this man right here, Kyle Kuzma. So rewind a few years. The Lakers had a young Jordan Clarkson, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, and they get LeBron. And LeBron a couple years later brings in AD. But before they had AD, they had Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Jordan Clarkson, and he moved a lot of those in the AD trade. And then they held Kuzma, and then now they've just moved Kuzma in the freaking Russell Westbrook trade. And all of them have broken. Brandon Ingram has been a breakout in New Orleans. Jordan Clarkson's been a breakout. And I called this on Kyle Kuzma when they moved him. I'm like, I actually think Kyle Kuzma is as good as Brandon Ingram. I think he'll be an all-star. And yeah, like here he is just throwing down 26.6 rebounds to assist in 34 minutes. I mean, not even having to play heavy minutes do that. Leading all scorers on his team, all scorers except DeMar DeRozan in the game. DeMar, obviously a beast. But yeah, winning even a challenge against the Bulls. So good for the Wizards. Other wins against the Pacers. So, but
I can vouch for this too. You've been one name I have heard is Kyle Kuzma. You've been talking about Kuzma for a few years now. Definitely ahead of the hype on that one. And another thing I can get behind that might be the perfect segue into our next topic is that Washington is a terrible franchise. That's something I can relate to in the NFL world because they're also a terrible franchise there as well.
I think they're terrible in every sport. Like I think they're just like bad at running.
Well, the Nets are okay, right? The Nets have a World Series win not too far back. So
do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
So, I mean, but I don't know year to year if they're super competitive or not.
Right, yeah.
It seems like a lot of times, I remember when the Nats first became a real team, and I know we're not show doc be damned now, going off script a little bit, but we're snubbing baseball a little bit. Basketball season just started, so John was excited to talk about that. We've had the football coverage going on. I'm always excited to talk that. Q's kind of missing here. He's probably the guy who follows baseball the most. How do we not talk about baseball when they're so far into the playoffs? The real reason is because we don't have all the context we need to be able to cover it the way it should be covered. So
we're definitely, it's tough to follow, and we definitely follow NFL, NBA a little bit more, but our Mariners did get knocked out by the Astros, and I'm loving what I'm seeing out of the Padres, like freaking rolling through the Dodgers without Tatis. Like,
man, the Dodgers would have been my squad to ride with, and it was sad to watch them go. I know I asked you the other day, and I said, have you been watching all the games? And he goes, way less since the Dodgers went out. And, that's fair.
I mean, I am typically principally opposed to any LA or New York team, but that's just me.
Well, that's tough. I mean, as much of a West Coast focused sports pod as we are, I feel like LA is one of the big markets that we could be going after. But let's we got to have some controversy. Q is everything LA and every sport.
I mean, he's all LA. Yeah,
we got plenty of that. Usually, there's a little back and forth. We like to kind of tug on Q's tail a little bit on that stuff. So, anyway, into football talk now. The most major move in recent memory. It rarely happens to your favorite team, and especially when you're a 49ers fan. CMC, Christian McCaffrey, the boy wonder, whatever you want to call him, team of one over the last few years. He does everything himself. He gets moved to a team, an actual team, a team that exists, not the Panthers, a team that actually is relevant.
I'd call him the Stephon Diggs of the Panthers.
I mean, I think he's even more to that team than Stephon Diggs is. I mean, Stephon Diggs has weapons on his squad. He has Josh Allen. They've got a good defense.
Sorry, not Stephon. Saquon Barkley. I don't know why I mixed that, but Saquon. He's like the Saquon Barkley of the Panthers.
Similar, but I'd say even more so. Like this, Carolina is a trash organization. They have multiple quarterbacks, but somehow no quarterbacks. And they're probably in the quarterback market still. Who knows what's going to happen there? They're just trying to recoup picks at this point and go completely rebuild. We've seen CMC get moved. Before that, Robbie Anderson got moved to the Cardinals. We're probably going to see a Brian Burns move because he's one of the other players of value there. They are just trying to get whatever they can to load up on future drafts. Can't blame them because they look completely awful. That's enough Panthers talk because I don't actually want to talk about them. What I want to talk about are my Niners. And the Niners are loaded. All of a sudden, sportsbooks have them maybe the favorite in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl, which they were already a favorite to go pretty deep into the playoffs. They do it year to year. You say, oh, yeah, they only have Jimmy G. Jimmy G's taking them to 2 NFC conference championship games and 1 Super Bowl. I saw this somewhere. I don't know if it's fully true, but Jimmy Garoppolo has the 3rd most playoff wins out of like any current quarterback, I think. That sounds incredible if that's true. And
maybe win percentage. I could see win percentage for sure.
Something I don't even know.
I honestly, see him really high on win percentage, but in terms of volume of wins, I think that would have it fine.
Obviously, Brady's active, so he's got to be the one.
Rodgers is also active.
I think he's got Rodgers. Rodgers doesn't win in the playoffs that much, and I think the other one would be Mahomes probably. If Garoppolo's 3, that's probably the order it's got to be. I think Garoppolo might have Rodgers beat out at this point, and yeah, if he does, then I can't think of somebody else standing in the way. So anyway, 3rd, 4th, whatever place he is, Garoppolo can get the job done. He can get us to the Super Bowl. Can he get us over the hump to win? The answer is maybe with these kinds of weapons because we arguably have the most explosive roster in the NFL now. I think it's actually pretty hard to argue against it. You know, we already had Debo, do everything Samuel. Now we got Christian, do everything McCaffrey. We are seeing a trend that kind of coming from your sport, John, coming from basketball. The 49ers are leading the charge in the NFL, building a positionless football team. They have guys who are ball carriers. Get the ball in their hands. Debo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. You know, get the ball in these guys' hands no matter how you have to do it. Also, these guys are great blockers. They're marquee players. They also know the importance of blocking downfield and setting those key blocks, protecting the quarterback. We're going to see this offense start to shine. You can book it. The main thing to rain on the parade of my team are the injury risks. People say one of the best but most injury-prone players moves to one of the best but most injury-prone teams. Not exactly a recipe for success. They might have a point there. But at a certain point, you got enough bodies. Maybe you got
enough good guys and you can make up for it. I mean, they already had a good running back room. So, you know, yeah, I mean, even I think, yeah, and honestly, they get it done on defense. So like, that's it. We just needed some instant offense in San Francisco, right? That's exactly what they went and got. Like, hey, we'll move all of our picks for instant offense to get ourselves in a win now situation. You know, because we're in a win now situation. Also, so what is his contract? When is his contract here? So how many years do we have CMC?
Yeah, so I think we have CMC through the 25 season, but I think there's also, honestly, I don't think the contract is something to dwell on too much because they're probably going to redo a contract, whether it's this year or in this offseason coming up or then one after that. From the interviews from 49ers brass, you know, John Lynch, general manager, Kyle Shanahan, head coach, they are saying CMC is going to be around. Like, this is not a 1-year rental. This is not kind of, you know, they're in win now mode for sure. They're taking their shot. They gave up almost every pick they had in next year's draft. You know, just to put it out there, the compensation in this trade was San Francisco traded their 2nd round pick. They don't have a 1st round pick because of the picking up Trey Lance, the package they had to do to get Lance. So they go, we'll give you our 2nd next year, our 3rd next year, our 4th next year, and a 5th the following year. So they're now left with whatever compensatory picks they have, and I think a 5th rounder in next year's draft. They're down to like 2 or 3 draft picks.
Yeah,
but
I do like the idea of Debo, of a team with Debo, Kittle, Trey Lance, Christian McCaffrey. It's a good
What do
offense.
you
Like you got
what do you do?
weapons. You got weapons.
Who do you double
Yeah.
team?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, they definitely, they're like, if the defense can keep going, in Jimmy G, honestly, this is probably like not a bad time to like, I think Jimmy G, my opinion about him is that he's a quarterback that maybe he's not as good as some, maybe he's no Trey Lance, maybe, but he does like do the right thing with the football. He takes care of the football, manages the game well, and makes good decisions, and he can use weapons well. So give him some weapons, and I think they win games.
You won't find a bigger Niners fan than me, and I'm going to say something that's just blasphemous at this point about Jimmy G. If Jimmy G is the guy who gets us back to the Super Bowl and we can win a Super Bowl with these weapons, sure. Maybe it's in spite of Jimmy because the defense is so good and the weapons around him are so good. But if Jimmy Garoppolo wins us a Super Bowl this year, I want Jimmy back on the squad. I don't know how else to say it. Like, why would we make a change at that point? I'm a Trey fan. I think Trey could make this offense work next year with all the weapons around him. Same case for Jimmy. You don't even have to be that good. You just got to get the ball to those guys.
Yeah, just take care of the football.
If we get over the hump, you just got a weird situation all of a sudden. And I wouldn't be, if the contract was right, I wouldn't be against having Jimmy again the next year and let Lance just develop behind him. Okay. So
I'll call out one other piece of news in
sure.
the NFL. Tua back this week. The question I have for you and the thought thing I want to kick to you is: do the Dolphins step right back into stride here? Do you think, or is it like nope, they got knocked out of rhythm and they're gonna have problems? Do you think Tua picks right back up where he left off and the Dolphins start rolling again?
I think I would probably file it under. This is the same Dolphins team that we saw explode in the first few weeks of the season.
They still have Tyreek.
I think the capacity. Tyreek's the number one receiver in football right now too. So I think the capacity to explode is there again. So my gut reaction is yes, they are going to go out there and put on a show, prove to these people who are wondering if they're the same team now, prove that they are. But the piece that gets in the way, which I'm not totally sure of yet, is the public perception. Do you kind of ease Tua back in because you are just worried about how it looks to throw him back to the Wolves and pass 50 times in this game? Be like, man, he's taking sacks left and right again. You guys you aren't protecting him. Do they focus a little bit more on the run game? Do they kind of dial back the pass game to this kind of like shorter kind of dump off, like drags across the middle of the field kind of?
When you have Tyreek Hill, how do you do that? You know what I mean? Like,
and the answer is
you gotta let your stallions run.
Yeah, and that's where I'm ultimately going to fall. I just had to get it on record that there's a chance that they don't look incredible this next game, just
that they let public perception drive their game.
Right. But the good news is, if you're a Miami fan, even if they do go that route this game, it won't be for the rest of the season. It'll be because, hey, this is Tua's first game back. Like, we are not in the clear yet. Let's just kind of try to win the game, but maybe with a little bit smaller ball. But you know what? Fire him up. If you got him in fantasy, him, Tyreek Hill, the whole squad, Jalen Waddle, whatever. I still wouldn't bet on those running backs because I don't actually believe they're going to run the ball a ton. They're a passing offense. Yeah. But we might see a little bit more action on the ground this week is all I'm saying. Nice. Okay, so we got to Tua. We are getting just about to that point of the show where we do our picks. But before we do, there's one matchup, of course, that I want to talk about ahead of time. It is the Niners versus the Chiefs. This is a big one. Let me double check. Where is that game? Are we in Santa Clara or are we in Kansas City?
Good question.
We are in Santa Clara. So Niners at home against the Chiefs. This matchup, we don't need to go too deep into it because we'll be doing our picks. And I don't want to influence your decision on that yet. I guess we already have them locked.
I already made my picks.
So we're already locked in. So we can talk about it all we want. Yep. So first of all, does CMC play?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. How much do you think we'll see him?
Yeah, so the official reports are it's up in the air, right? And we've seen some other reports that are, if he does play, expect limited, knowledge of the offense. He's going to be in just certain formations, certain packages, but it'll probably be goal line packages. And that is one thing that the Niners could use a little help on. They stall out sometimes, and their field goal kicker, he gets his reps in, and they're kind of a small ball team, play good defense. We'll take 3 points on a drive because we're going to hold you to 0 points on the next drive. So we'll take that trade every time. But when you can get 7 instead of 3, I mean, that's just math. That's a good move to try to win ball games. And where's the one spot where you don't maybe need to understand all the wrinkles of the entire offense? When you're probably out like 5 yards, you just need that guy. Hey, give me the ball. I
get the ball.
There's big dudes in front of me, and I'm going to find the cracks. I'm going to get in there. It's already a zone-based run team, a zone run scheme. So it's kind of like pick your hole anyway. It's not like the whole play dissolves if you kind of zig when you should have zagged.
If the hole gets plugged, yeah.
You need running backs with good vision. And Christian McCaffrey does not pick the wrong hole to go through. He's got great vision. He's got good finishing power. I'm going to go ahead and say we might see limited usage here, but I bet Shanahan's going to try to get this man a tutty in his first game as a Niner just to get the fan base excited. So,
yeah, I mean, Casey's on some John Madden today. Yeah, 7 points better than 3 points. If you get 7 points, get it.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say they limit his touches, but he pulls out a tutty. That's my bold prediction.
No, especially non-red zone where it's like you do have to understand the wrinkles of the offense a little bit better. You can't expect the guy to learn the playbook in a week, especially the Niners playbook. There's a lot of reads in it. So
a lot of motion, a lot of space, a lot of getting open in space. You got to be in the right spot at the right time, all that stuff. Yeah. Timing, huge factor. Yeah, for sure. It's going to be tough, but he had 48 hours to prepare. Next week, he'll be fully implemented. This is going to be a hit. If you got the other Niners running backs, I'm sad to say I think they've expired on your roster, your fantasy roster, that is. I think CMC comes in, and it's still going to be a committee, but he's going to be the far and away number one in this backfield.
Yeah,
from here on out. Yeah. But do they stand a chance against the Chiefs, John? That's my main question.
Well, we're going to get into week 7 picks. Do you want to talk Chiefs Niners up front? Like, let's just start.
Let's get to that matchup and then do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So let's roll through. I will read off the picks. So actually, you know what? You want me to just pull this up?
Sure. Yeah.
Read off the matchups and pull it up. Hold on. Let me combine these. Doing things on the computer. So just so we're all clear, this episode is being filmed on a Saturday. The Thursday game has already happened. Cardinals Saints. It was a crazy game. 2 pick sixes. That was cool. But Casey picked that game ahead of time. John and Q did not. So Casey does get to take a loss there.
I was looking real good for like the first quarter and a half.
You know what? I like Andy Dalton better than Jameis, but 2 pick sixes is pretty bad. It's not.
Yeah, one of them wasn't really as much his fault. The other one was squarely on his shoulders. And Dalton's not the answer in New Orleans, but I thought they could squeak it out, just being a good enough defensive team. And the Cardinals getting their own way often enough. I thought I could pick up one there. DeAndre Hopkins, I would never disrespect that man, but I thought maybe it would take a game to get on page with Kyler. I was wrong. It took about a half, because about halfway through that game, there are moments tangible moments you can see them on the sideline. Hop has his arm around Kyler, trying to settle him down. That's what Kyler's been missing. I mean, he's been hot-headed, losing his control. D-Hop is the stabilizing factor here, and I think maybe we're seeing this Cardinals team turn around. I mean, I hate to say it because they're in NFC West, but I'm all like I see it here. So I got that one wrong. I picked New Orleans to be
moving on, though. Casey, Browns, Ravens, who you got?
Browns, Ravens. I'm taking the Ravens here. Not a lot to say about it other than, they've disappointed a little bit, but this is a game where they're the better team.
Yep. I also have the Ravens. Bucks, Panthers, who you got?
Taking the Bucks here.
Shocker.
Similar thing. The Panthers are terrible.
Going. I am also going with the Bucks. Bengals, Falcons. What do you got?
We have separate picks on this one. I am taking the Bengals. Maybe it's a little bit of that. I hate the Falcons because they beat the Niners. But this was a tough one for me. This one was tough, and I'm glad we're divided. Actually,
I am too. So I'm going Falcons here. Lions, Cowboys. What do you got? Dak is back.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that makes the team all that much better, but
no, honestly, I think they should start Cooper Rush. I mean, yes, he lost to the Eagles, but he showed pretty well. He wasn't bad. I think he threw an interception, or two, but it was a close game. Like he kept it pretty close with the, probably consensus best team in football right now. So
if you follow what like the consensus of the NFL world, I think we can probably prepare for like Jimmy Garoppolo and Cooper Rush like competing for starting jobs next year because they look pretty similar. They both have a record of winning football games, which is what terrible franchises should look at, not at like this crazy upside, like this guy can run and do it all. Like, hey, you need a guy who's going to get you some wins first, and those two guys can do it. I think Jimmy's probably the better version of Cooper Rush, though, and hopefully he gets a good home.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh, but as long as
what do you have?
What I wanted to say though, as long as you have that defense and you're playing a team like the Lions, I don't care who's the quarterback.
Yep, Dak is back. I have the Cowboys. Casey has the Cowboys. All right, here you go, Giants. They beat the Ravens, and I think I won that pick, right? Like I picked them over the Ravens, and that's probably their toughest opponent for a while now.
And this one was a tough one as well, if I'm being honest, because the Jags are that team you can just see how they've had a couple good games. You can see it, but it's not really quite there yet. And the Giants is easy to disrespect every week just because they're the Giants. But the Giants are not the Giants this year. They're a winning football team. They look good. I'm not gonna say great. They don't look as good as
they're like winning. Like it's like it's not always football. Pretty, but we're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, they look good. I got the Giants here.
Yeah, I got the Giants here as well. Finally on board. Pack versus the Commanders. What do you got?
Yeah, and this one, Carson Wentz is out. I don't think that matters a ton either because maybe Heineke's more dangerous actually, trying to play his way into a starting job somewhere next year. Carson Wentz isn't that high of a bar to clear anyway. I'm taking the Packers here.
I got the Pack as well. Colts, Titans. What do you got?
Yeah, this one's tough, right? But I'm just gonna say I got the Colts.
Yeah, I got Indy as well.
Right.
Raiders, Texans. What do you got?
I'm taking the Raiders here. Texans are one of those teams. I find it
should be a gimme.
Hard. Yeah, I find it hard to think of a matchup where I'll take the Texans until they
should be a gimme. Yeah, unless they played the Browns, which they can't, right? Yeah. So anyway, I also have the Raiders here. Jets, Broncos. Is this a tough one for you? This is another matchup I could see being a tough one. It's not a tough one for you.
Had it been last week, 2 weeks ago, probably would have been when it was.
You're ready to get off the horse.
Yeah, I'm ready to stop riding.
You're ready to stop riding and start flying.
I want to believe in Russ. I do believe as far as fantasy outlook goes, I think Russ will have a rebound. I've maintained that all year. But they've got a couple tougher, sneaky tough matchups here in the Jets. Their next one's another tough team. Can't remember. Then a bye. And then it's pretty smooth sailing. So maybe a sneaky pickup in the coming weeks if you're looking for a fantasy quarterback, but it's a little banged up. I'm not relying on Russ right now. We're going the Jets, baby.
Yep. Let's go.
Breece Hall.
Let's go, Zach. Let's go, Beast. Let's go Jets. All right, you want to skip this one and come back, or should we do it now?
Let's get into it here.
All right.
Because
Chiefs Niners.
I'm not just a homer, man. Honestly, and I did have this pick before the trade, but I think the Niners got a shot here, and the CMC trade only makes it.
You had the Niners pick to win before the trade already.
I did have the Niners picked in our show doc before they made the trade for Christian McCaffrey. I felt weird about it though, to be honest. I was like, I think
it's like you feel too bad not picking the Niners, right? Like,
well, I think I had them probably like a 45% chance to win, which is higher than most people would give them in this game before the CMC trade. But I always come back to, if I lose a point in our game here because the Niners won and I pick the other team, I'm going to feel like crap. I don't like that. I make decisions based on how I want to feel about them. So I'm picking the Niners. And now I'd say, sneaky, I'm giving them a 50-50 shot for real in this one. Being that they're at home and they have CMC, I think that tips the scale in their favor a little bit. The defense is, if we get Hufanga back for the game, I think he's going to wreak havoc like he has all season. And that's going to put a thorn in the side of Patrick Mahomes. Hard to do, but the Niners are the best defense in football. So this is put up or shut up time. So you can win against playoff teams.
I'm actually very interested to see how good the Chiefs offense is. Right. Like this is a big test for them, I think. I do have the Chiefs in this game. I think, and I mean I've said this before, like in terms of just like eye test looking at him, I think Pat is maybe one of the best football players that's like ever played the game. But in it, like just athleticism, his ability to pass, his ability to read, make decisions, all of it. So yeah, I think the Chiefs will just be a little too much. But yeah, look, if the Niners win, I won't be mad about it. I do like the Niners. I just I can't pick them here. I can't pick them.
We've got to have some games where we're separated too, so I can make up some games.
So that you can make up some time. Yeah, some ground here. Moving on, Seahawks, Chargers. I think Herbie can get it done. Should be a gimme for him.
I don't know that I'd call it a gimme at this point. I mean, I don't know that the Seahawks are some premier team in the NFL, but they've proven they're not totally pushovers, and that's tough for me to say.
Hustle.
The NFC West.
So no you got team Seahawks here.
No team has a record over 500 in the NFC West, but like they all look like they could. Like if they did make the playoffs, they might be able to squeak out wins in the playoffs. Like they're that ugly style of football where you can beat good teams. But yeah, I got the Chargers.
All that to say, I think the Chargers are going to win.
I mean, I'm not going to pick the Seahawks. So
I also think the Chargers are going to win. Steelers, Dolphins. Who do you have?
I got the Dolphins here. So
I do too.
Steelers, I think they got Pickett playing this week. That's great to see. Love to see it out there. I'm a Kenny Pickett fan. I'm rooting for that young man. This is a tough task. Hopefully it's high flying. You know, the Steelers don't always put up the most points, but they're going to need to in this game if the Dolphins don't come out real conservative. Like we're hoping they don't. We want to see that production. We want to see the two.
Just play your game. If he's ready to play, let him play. If he's not ready to play, then hold him another week.
That's it. And the Steelers are going to need to do a lot to keep up. The defense is like kind of a shell of its former self. They're going to need to put up some offense to get in this game, and I hope we see a good one.
I actually think this is a nice game back for Tua. Like I think it'd be worse if it was like there's some matchups that I'd be like, oh, this is gonna be like maybe they need a game to get back into stride. But I think this is a perfect one to kind of like take that first step. All right, Bears, Pats. Who do you have? And will Bailey Zappi play? He put up 300 yards last week. 300 passing yards for this kid.
Yeah, coming out of Patriots Nation, right? It's kind of Bill Belichick's move to not signal anything before he has to. You know, this is the team that puts like 20 players on the injury report and calls them questionable when we know damn well they're, 19 of them are going to play. Similar situation as of right now. I don't follow that team the closest, but last I had seen, Mac Jones was presumed to take over the starting role again, which I think is honestly, I wanted to see Zappy in this one still. I say ride with Zappy the same way we were with Rush. If you're winning games, let the man do his thing. He's over 100 quarterback rating in his 2 first starts in the NFL.
Yeah,
and he
winning games and winning games and dominate. He's dominating.
I saw a stat that he's the first Patriots quarterback ever to win his 2 first games and have a QBR of over 100. That's the first quarterback from the Patriots to do it. And there's some friggin' tough company in there, So great job, Bailey Zappi. Especially against the Bears, they're going to roll over this team. So, let him keep building confidence. Although, if you're super set on going back to Mac Jones, it is the perfect, like you're saying, for Tua.
Comeback game.
Playing the Bears is the perfect, welcome back, get your feet underneath you again. But I think I'm kind of rooting for Zappi in the quarterback controversy. I guess I'm projecting it's not going to be smooth sailing necessarily with Mac Jones, and I'd love to see Zappy steal this job. I don't know.
I would too, honestly. I kind of like this kid. He's a good passer, honestly, and that's what Belichick needs. So yeah, I hope we do see Zappy, but either way, I got the Patriots, whether they go with Zappy or whether they go with Jones in this matchup. So I think we only have a couple that were separated on Chiefs, Chargers, and what else? I don't know. One other pick, I think.
Yeah, we had Cincinnati and the Falcons.
Yeah, you got to win both those. I bet you could. I could see you winning both of those.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. It's tough to make up games when you only have 2 different from each other. And I already dropped one on Thursday that you missed the pick. So
oh yeah, I know.
fall back even further.
You're actually, it's probably good for you that I missed the pick because think I would have picked the Cardinals. I kind of have to be a Cardinals homer right now because I have Cardinals on my fantasy team.
Yeah. Well, Triple Cross, thank you for joining us. Sorry if you're a baseball fan, we didn't get super deep into baseball. I know it's the exciting time of the season, but we're gonna have some coverage as we move along here next week. See where we're at. We'll touch on it. Make sure we're doing the littlest amount possible, but still giving you something. Right now, we're a football, basketball pod. We'll get you next season a little harder. We'll do a better job next season. But if you're a football or basketball fan, stay tuned. We got a lot of 49ers and Jazz content, especially coming at you, and everything LA for when Q comes back and joins the squad. But yeah, John, what are your final thoughts on this episode? What do you want to leave us with?
I mean, I'm excited that the NBA is here. We got some really fun matchups this week. Really pivotal week for the NFL. We're very close to that halfway point, right? So it's like we're in the heart of the season now, and it's time for the playoff teams to start looking like playoff teams. So if you're the Cardinals, if you're the Raiders, if you're any of these teams where we're like, are they good? Are they not good? If you're the Broncos, I guess even. It's time to roll. Like, you either start playing well now or just like start thinking about next year, I guess.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Triple Cross, thank you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications for whenever we drop new content onto the channel. And until next time, keep it real.